Hello, 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 and a big welcome to this special additional episode of Crescent Podcast, which I'm hosting as part of Podcasthon, a global initiative which brings together podcasters from around the world to raise awareness for charitable causes. I'm your host, Lucy Jessie, and I run Crescent Digital Marketing, where I provide digital marketing services for neurodivergent-led businesses. A quick shout out to our sponsor, Purple Frog Signs. Please check them out for any of your signage needs at purplefrogsigns.com. So, when I first heard about Podcasthon, I knew exactly who I wanted to feature and collaborate. And it's the incredible team down at Autism Apprentice, which is a CIC based in Sittingbourne. And they provide support to families caring for young people with autism. I have actually used their services myself when I was right at the beginning of my autism journey with my youngest son, Daniel. And I attended their events and I did their 6-week real life autism course, which was brilliant and so useful. So to tell us more about the fantastic work they do, please welcome Sarah and Carla from Autism Apprentice. How are you today, guys?
Hi, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. We're good, thank you.
Right, so why don't you start from the beginning and tell us what led you to start? Because you actually started Autism Apprentice, didn't you, Sarah?
I did. Quite a journey and a bit of a backstory, Lucy. I think I should start by saying I have 2 young people on the spectrum, a son and a daughter. And really, I think for me, it was frustration. So when I was going through the journey for both of them, probably more for my daughter, trying to find her the right specialist school, and that led me and to be the lead applicant to the Department for Education to set up a free school in our area, which is now up and running and oversubscribed, the Aspire School. And that was 6 years of hard work to the DFE, building a team, securing the site. I will never forget that interview at the DFE in London. It was a bit like The Apprentice. It was glass walls, panel, and I can still remember the first question they threw at me. You have 3 minutes. You're stuck in a lift with Lord Nash. You have 3 minutes to sell your application to him. So that was really good experience. And I worked with some wonderful people on that project. The wonderful Dr. Joanna Ross, who's now retired, who was an exceptional occupational therapist, teacher John Summers, all sorts of wonderful people, and learnt so much. But I think because there was a lot of publicity, I sort of got noticed. And I got asked to stand as a local councillor, which I tried to get out of because I was still working on this project, but I failed. They said, oh, stand, it's a paper vote, you won't get elected, but. So I said, okay. Anyhow, I was away actually for a long weekend with my mum and sister in Benidorm, and I got a phone call and said, you've been elected with the largest majority. So I quickly had to find a bar that sold me a large gin and tonic. But it was through that work. So I became a councillor, then I became a cabinet member, sat on lots of children boards, health and wellbeing boards at local authority. And I got really frustrated with the lack of knowledge, understanding, and thought, I've got to do something to support other families. Because if I think right back, there were some really special people that helped me at my lowest points when I found it really overwhelming. There was a wonderful specialist nurse called Lynn. We were lucky to have an amazing paediatrician, and I'm going to say Dr. Kim Selby. There were special people, even at the special needs journey, Blanche, Charles. There were those people that made a difference. So I wanted to try and create something to support families. I thought there's no point moaning. Let's do something. So I set up the Autism Apprentice back in May 2019. It was important for me that it was a community interest company, not for profit. And obviously the early days were quite hard because we had COVID come along as well.
Yeah, the timing of that must have hurt.
Yeah, but in a way, because we started off doing face-to-face in children's centres, and then obviously COVID came, so we had to change our delivery model and worked quite closely with Kent Mind, we delivered a project with them. So we changed it virtually to Teams and Zoom and phone calls. And we actually found through that delivery model a lot more engagement, uptake on the appointments, because it reduced, we found, and what they reported back, parent and carers' anxiety about, travel. Can I park there? How, I've got to bring my young person with me. How are they going to be? All of that sort of thing. If they had work commitments. In a way, it was good for us, COVID, and we could reach more people. And actually, now, and we're going to celebrate our 7th birthday this year, and we're going to plan a week of events. We,
Amazing.
it's not just Kent or Medway we support now, it's the whole of the UK, and it's word of mouth. And in fact, recently I've had clients in Budapest and Israel.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's phenomenal.
So sorry if I went on a bit there, Lucy,
No, not
but
at all. No,
that's
I
the
think it's
journey.
good.
That's the reason behind it. My wonderful children.
That's that's amazing. And what a journey
Yeah.
to go from, I mean, Kent and Medway is not a small area anyway, but to
No.
now you're going global. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And it's, you know, not marketing, it's word of mouth.
Yeah.
And that for us sort of think, yeah, we're doing something right here.
So, can you talk us through what Autism Apprentice, how you do provide support to families, Carla?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have quite a number of different services that we offer, from our advice clinic appointments. So they're normally delivered virtually, like Sarah explained. And so it may be that family will come to us for an advice appointment, and then we can offer support over quite a few different kind of areas and topics. So, from sleep, behavior, sensory processing, education. And then our families may want support in other services that we offer. So, we can support with EHCNAs, we can support with appeals and tribunal work if needed. We run youth clubs, coffee sessions, Q&As in schools. I mean, our Send Youth clubs have been really popular, and it's something that we're all really, really passionate about. Being able to provide that support to the family, but also supporting the young person to, engage with other like-minded peers. I think at the moment we are offering a delivery of PT sessions for young autistic people, and the feedback we've had from those sessions has been, amazing. Everyone that works for us, we all have that lived in experience with caring for at least one young autistic person. So that's something that's really important to us. Being able to relate to a lot of our families' situations and experiences and offering the non-judgmental environment is something that's really important for us as well.
Yeah, I know. When I did the 6-week course, it was just knowing you're talking to other people that instantly get it without you having to explain every little bit or why one thing led to such a meltdown. It could be like a tiny thing, but other people who get it because it wasn't that one thing, it was the accumulation or whatever it was.
Yeah. And I think as we've evolved, we listen constantly, to our service users. What do they want? And what we find is a lot of parents, they go on to get a late diagnosis because they've learnt about their children. Then they go on and get their late diagnosis, and they're like, "What support is there for me?" So we have been lucky. We've got some grant funding recently, so there's a support group at a load of local doctor's surgery on a Saturday morning. We're actually starting one virtually for residents in Ashford and Canterbury, and there's an over 55s on a Friday morning. And it's something we are developing because there is a need. So, yes, we started off supporting children and their families, and now, we're listening and as Carla said about the youth clubs, I just want to, there's one point there which has been amazing and so lovely to see, is our peer mentors. And I want a big shout out to them, George, Phoebe, Max, Amber, they are Ruby, they're amazing. And, I'm getting old now, Lucy, but what's nice is when we run it, is the young people feel comfortable going to those peer mentors and seeing the difference they make. It's just wonderful.
If a parent is kind of going through the motions in the really early stages, maybe they've just got their child's diagnosis or they're starting down that path and they're totally overwhelmed, what would be one of the first things you'd say to them?
That's a really good question. We've been where you are. It's okay. Is the first thing, is that validation. It's so important, and we treat every family, they're all individuals, and we break it down, and just that reassurance, you are doing a good job, because we hear so many horror stories, Lucy, where a bit of gaslighting, it could be from schools or other parents or whoever, family members.
Yeah.
And it can be hard and it can be isolating. And I think really it's a journey and it's a roller coaster and we learn every day. And I think for me, I've learnt so much from my children, and all staff have training by autistic people. I want to make sure that's out there, like Kieran Rose, the autistic advocate, for example.
Yes.
But my daughter, she teaches me so much about her auditory processing. I wondered when she was really young why she absolutely would throw herself on the floor if I tried to hold her hand, because she's also got ADHD. So, a bit of a runner. And it would be the slightest of touch. But for her, she's now can explain to me, because of the sensory, for her, that slightest touch actually felt really strong, and it felt like I was crushing her bones.
Yeah.
So I think for us, it is breaking it down. And when we try and get, break it all down and hear what's going on, and then usually we've experienced that or we'll have knowledge of that so we can explain. And, then it's making sense of it, isn't it? Something doesn't feel like that for you, like having a shower can feel like shards of glass on your skin.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like that for you. So you wonder, why won't they have a shower? Why are they screaming and kicking? And it's just, knowledge is power.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Mm.
Do you find there are common misconceptions about autism that you're still battling?
Yeah. And I think, sadly, that will always be the case. The classic, I remember, Member of Parliament, don't understand, why there's all this autism and ADHD anymore. Now, we didn't have it in my day. We hear that a lot. Even Senkos. I can remember a Senko at a school my son went to, and her words to me were, "Don't worry, he'll grow out of it come the end of year 8. That's what we see." And I think the list could go on, couldn't it, Carla? We hear them every single day.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was told I couldn't be autistic because I can make eye contact.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can make eye contact, but it's to a point and it hurts.
Yeah.
And if I'm talking about something particularly personal, I can't look at someone's face. But
And only recently, my daughter had an appointment with a counsellor or mental health practitioner, and they kept on, look at me, look at me. As a pet, you're trying to think this. My daughter's a young person. I want it to be her. I wanted just to sit there, and there was a point where I had to say, "Excuse me." Do you realise how painful that is? That's like someone shining a laser light in your eyes. So, we are still advocating for our young people, even when they're young adults.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be changing very soon.
No.
And every time I hear the same old thing of, oh, we never had this in my day, or it's a trend. Oh, that drives me nuts if people say it's a trend. But then it's like, after the telescope was invented, are you saying that there were no stars in the sky beforehand? It's just that we can see them now. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it is, Lucy. And I mean, this is why I'm not to do politics anymore. It drove me mad. I had counsellors who would say, oh, they only do it to claim the benefits. You know, it just drives me mad. You know, you live in our shoes for a few days.
Yes.
Mm.
The other one that I hear quite a lot is, oh yeah, I knew an autistic person once. You've all got a savant ability, haven't you? And I was like, well, I don't.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, or that if you've... So I always taught that with, you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. It
Exactly.
doesn't mean anything. It drives me nuts.
No, we are all individuals.
So I wanted to touch base on the government white paper that's come out this week at the time of recording. I'm sure
Yeah.
you've had a look at it, potentially thrown it in the bin.
Yeah.
What are... I haven't actually read it all because it's a big document, but I did catch up on a webinar that went through it, or the highlights or lowlights. What are your thoughts about what they're looking to change or implement?
I think the first thing I'd like to do, Lucy, is reassure your listeners that nothing is changing right now. Okay, I think that's the first thing I really want to do is reassure, because we're having to reassure our families,
Yeah, of course.
and we are seeing a big increase in applications for EHCNAs. Some of your listeners might think, what's an EHCNA? It's an EHCP, but at the first start, it is called an Education Healthcare Needs Assessment. So that's the first thing. Oh, there's so many things that are wrong with this white paper. I think the government, they're up to 15 U-turns. I'm hoping there's going to be many more, because I read yesterday that one of the things about outcomes of students who have an EHCP and they go to a specialist school, that their outcomes aren't as great as those that attend a mainstream school. And they benchmarked this against a study from Norway. Now, first of all, the educational system in Norway is completely different than our educational system. And actually, it just wasn't a conclusive study either. And so, when I had to do the application for the free school, you had to benchmark against relatable comparisons, How is that a relevant comparable? For me, I think they had their end goal, and for me, it's about saving money.
100%.
And yes, they say they listened to this organisation and they held all of those sessions. But I think what they've done is fitted the narrative around their agenda. And it's stripping away children's legal rights, or reducing them significantly, in my opinion. And the other thing that really concerns me is about that transition and the phased transfer from primary to secondary. So they may have all that support at primary, but then they think they're going to be okay at secondary. Well, actually, that's the age range I typically support in advice.
Yeah.
Carla does the younger years, I do year 6 upwards. And in fact, that is the area we see the most difficulties. And I'll
And the
explain
most crisis
why.
at that age as well, isn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, I honestly, Lucy, it's so sad. And this week I've had some horror stories. And in fact, I thought of one client Tuesday morning, whenever it was, and I was talking to this parent, and they were telling me, and all I could think about was this white paper and how wrong the government have got it. And it scares me if it is implemented on this generation of young people. So what we tend to find is you may have young people who mask. So they're trying to fit in, they don't want to draw attention to themselves, but that is exhausting, absolutely exhausting. And they've got the sensory and anxiety going on. So they go to secondary school, year 7. Some may just about limp through year 7. Often they don't even get to the end of term 1. And we start to see that they're unable to attend school. Because at secondary school, you've got the uniform changes, you've got that sensory. It could be the feel of the blazer, a tie, whatever it may be. And then if you think of the environment, and you can't change an environment, they say they're going to have OTs, access to speech and language, all of that, but you can't change the building. You've got all those extra staff, students, noises, smells, lighting. They start to see those gaps widen between themselves and their peers, social and communication differences. That's autism. And the anxiety goes through the roof. And what we tend to see is then the mental health deteriorate. We see self-harming, OCD at really bad level. It's horrendous what I hear every single day. So the government, I just want to say the government, you've got this so wrong. Carla, did you want to add anything?
No, I mean, just following what you was just saying, young people's needs do not suddenly disappear at secondary transition. They don't suddenly not become a need that needs to be provided for. So the thought of reassessment at that stage is, it's
Yeah.
really, really scary. And reading some of these things that have come out in the white paper, not only am I concerned for what the future looks like for my children, but that, for the families that we support, how much this is going to impact it's going to be enormous. And trying to navigate the system at the moment is challenging enough, and I feel like it's going to get even more difficult to navigate going forward, especially if there's going to be changes being implemented up until 2029, I think they've said, Sarah, haven't they? They're going to be starting making changes in mainstream schools. And trying to navigate all these changes is going to, it's going to be really, really tricky. Ultimately, the law, which is supposed to protect our young people, a lot of the time at the moment is not followed. So stripping that back even further, what is that going to look like for our young people?
Yeah. And there's nothing I've seen yet for the 19 to 25-year-olds, so that would make me think they're going to stop the EHCPs when they get to a certain age, obviously 18, I would guess. But it's thinking about the whole picture as well for me. My son is actually now a secondary school teacher. I was trying to get his perspective as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And he went into teaching because his words were, I know how difficult school was for me. I had to pull him out of a grammar school because for his mental health. But he went on to university and he's a secondary school teacher.
That's incredible.
Soon to head his department in September. So extremely proud mum. But I was speaking to him, and his mainstream school have got a unit as well. But I was speaking to him about it, and obviously he has a high proportion of SEND students. I said, it's just not going to work at all. And I said to him, how I see it is, say a doctor, they qualify, they go to medical school, they qualify, and then they choose their specialism. So what is my interest? What would I like to specialize in? Is it oncology? Is it being a pediatrician, a general practitioner? What is it? And they decide, and that's their career. That's their passion. A teacher, they qualify and they decide, do I want to do early years? Do I want to do primary? Do I want to do secondary? Do I want to be a university lecturer? Whatever it may be. Now they're basically being told, you've got to be a specialist teacher.
Yes.
Alongside, your mainstream. I think you're going to see a lot leave the profession, and seeing, the government said we're about recruiting more teachers because there isn't enough. I think this seems like a bit of an own goal to me.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, that's been the story for a long time about like needing more teachers because teachers aren't staying. My stepdaughter trained and she got through her first year and then she was like, no, I'm not, because the pressure on teachers
yeah,
as it is horrific. I'm curious as to how they would then instill this training on all the teachers. Is it just going to be an online thing that they just have to tick boxes? Like how is that going to work?
It's going to be interesting, Lucy, because obviously with my interest, when my son did his teacher training, I wanted to know the SEN element. What was your training like? And it wasn't very good. I'm being polite and being well behaved here, Lucy. It was absolute rubbish. So again, it's about the quality, because who knows who they're going to commission to deliver training. They think they'll be excellent. We'll wait and see. But it's also about that individual. You have individuals that don't believe in SEN. They think it's bad parenting or whatever it may be, their mindset. It's a real concern. And also what I've heard this week, I've already heard of 3 Senkos resigning. So are we going to see, because their workload is huge, so are we going to see more Senkos leave as well? I just see a disaster waiting to happen.
Do you think a lot of it is the way they've gone about it and the things they're wanting to change and implement, that a lot of it's like scare tactics to stop people from bothering to apply for any HCP? Because it's already so hard as it is.
We've had a lot of that for the last probably couple of years, I would say, Carla.
Yeah.
Where we know local authorities have told the head teachers and Senkos to discourage families from applying. We hear all the time, my Senko has said, I won't get any, there's no point applying. We tell them how the law hasn't changed, and yes, you can, and we can definitely support you. So, we're always saying that every single week. I think it's about saving money. And I think that is just the truth. And, the Prime Minister saying that about his brother and all, and I just thought, you just don't understand. We're not buying it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be, well, the priority is saving money, but other than that, it doesn't seem to be a priority to them at all.
No, but it is a concern because I predict more home education, because obviously we hear now the pressure put on families when their children are unable to attend, with being threatened with the police and fines and prosecution, all sorts. We have families who said we've had to deregister, de-roll our child because they're threatening to call the police and prosecute, and said I will end up in prison. So, it is. And what worries me is there's no national register for those home educated children. Now, don't get me wrong, majority of families they've taken them out because they care so much and they're safeguarding, but you are going to get those where there are safeguarding and what's going to happen? They're on the missing unknown list.
Yes. And it's a lot for the parents and the carers to do, because typically, well, people work, so then they've either got to pay a private tutor or they've got to give up their job to then educate their children, which the school was meant to do.
It's just, there's so many things wrong with it. And as you say, cost of living, and that's supposed to be one of his priorities. Most couples now have to work, just to get a roof over your head and, food on the table. If now one of them is having to give up, and we hear this a lot. I had one lady who works for the National Health Service, is in that predicament this week. Might have to give up my work because my young person can't attend school. They're very poorly. And I can just see that increase. And then we're going to have NEET, so not in employment, educational training, and I do attend some of the neat forums, and our figures in Kent, especially for Swirl and Funnet, are really high, especially for those with SEN, with or without an EHCP, with or without a diagnosis. Those figures are just going to increase. We've already got record unemployment for young people at the moment.
Yeah.
Sorry,
because-
this is sounding a bit like a political broadcast. I'm really sorry, Lucy. I'm
No,
for the Autism Apprentice Party, by the way.
there you go. Maybe there's something in that.
Yeah.
No, I think it should be talked about. Actually, I was talking to a few people yesterday. I was saying that I was having you guys on the podcast, and I was really looking forward to it. And instantly, everyone asked about the white paper, and I was like, everyone, like, it's on a lot of people's minds at the moment, and they were nothing to do with this. It was a work thing, but nothing neurodivergent related. And they were all like really
Yeah.
interested.
And it leads me on nicely, actually, Lucy, because in Kent, current administration, were Reform Kent, they have decided to, well, they changed transport policy for those post 16 special educational needs, which is causing a lot of anxiety for a lot of families. So they say they can go breakfast or after school clubs if you've got other siblings at other schools and all of this. I don't think they're realising the implications. Again, most parents, both of them work, they have to. Most breakfast, and I was speaking to someone yesterday afternoon, they can't get them in because they're full the whole time, so that isn't an option. And these are vulnerable young people. They cannot travel independently because the family have fought really hard to get them into the right provision. It isn't on their doorstep. To have to catch, say, 2 buses, a train, and then walk, just, you wonder, have these people who are making these decisions got a clue? Because actually, you're going to be responsible. I hate to think, for some people getting seriously hurt here. So I do know in Kent, lots of families are saying to email their MP, their KCC councillor and cabinet member to ask them to actually rethink this decision because it's not right. They've got it wrong.
To a certain extent, that's all we can do. But then
Yeah.
we definitely should do.
Yeah.
What would you, if you could reform the whole system? That's the really big question, actually. I think that's probably for a whole other episode.
I think that is, yeah, absolutely. I might bankrupt the country, though, with my wish list, Lucy.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, I think actually you wouldn't. And what disappoints me is if whatever government, if you actually cared about the children and young people and you wanted to improve their life chances so they could lead their best life, you would actually sit and listen to parents and the right professionals. You know, we hold a SEN Info Day and we often have the wonderful Dr. Georgie Siggers from Star Jumps come and be a guest speaker, and she often speaks about masking and autistic burnout. And I really feel if whatever government actually listened and had the right people in their committee working together cross-party, and they could have really made a difference for the SEN reforms. But as I say, I'm happy, and I'm sure Carla is to come back and do another one on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a very interesting episode. I think we should do that.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Obviously, you're a CIC, so you host these events, and you've got a big fundraising event coming up soon.
We have, thank you so much. Carla, is it Sunday the 3rd of May? I know it's a bank holiday weekend, so we've got the Monday to recover. Not that we're alcoholics, Lucy. I'm thinking of fatigue, of course. We are really lucky. We have some fantastic artists, acts who give up their time for free. And we've got Dolly Parton, Sherry Pierce, who has been on ITV Starstruck, and she's actually organising it for us this year because Gordon Dan has done the last 3, but he's emigrated to Malta. So we've got Cher, we've got Dolly Parton, we've got Rod Stewart, Who else have we got, Carla? Help me out here. We've got some
Oh, you're
wonderful acts.
Yeah, I mean, Dolly Parton is absolutely amazing, and they're always such a
Love her.
good night, really good vibe. You know, we normally raise some good funds to be able to support more families. So anybody who is interested in coming along, there are tickets available. Details are on our website and on our social media pages. So anyone that wants tickets, please check out the event online, and we would love as many people as possible to be able to come and enjoy the evening with us.
And I just want to say a really big shout out to a wonderful gentleman called Terry Humphreys from DLH Lifting Services Limited, based in Essex. And every year he donates some wonderful prizes. So last year we had VIP tickets for Coldplay and Oasis that he donated to us. This year we have got free, I think they're free, Bruno Mars tickets he's donated. We've got it's Tottenham in their VIP thing against Leeds football tickets for 2 with a drink and treat afterwards.
Drink and nibbles.
Yeah, we've got a signed West Ham shirt by all of the current 25-26 squad. And then if any businesses are out there and they'd like to donate, we do thank you publicly on social media, and I'm hoping to go on local radio station to thank them as well.
It's amazing. I'll make sure I put links in the blurb so everyone can go to the website and
Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Lucy.
Anything that we can do to support you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and for giving up your time. I know you're really, really busy, but I thought I had to get you guys on here, especially for this Podcasthon event. So thank you.
Oh, Lucy,
You're so welcome.
thank you. We really appreciate you thinking of us, and I've loved it.
I will get some more booked in the diary very soon.
Lovely.
Fantastic. You take care, everyone.
And a big thank you again to Purple Frog Signs for sponsoring us, and I will see you next time. Thank you.
Lovely.
Hi, Lucy.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.